Committee meeting to order for March 18th, 2022. My name is Brooke Harris, Chair of the committee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Fanton.
Here.
Mrs. Burdick. Mr. Curran.
Here.
Mr. Demick.
Here.
Mr. Havey.
Here.
Mr. Ricky.
Here.
Mrs. Root.
Here.
Mr. Stockin. 7 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Seeking approval of the minutes from the March 9th meeting. Entertain a motion, please.
Also move that.
Thank you, Ms. Root.
Curran, second.
Thank you, Mr. Curran. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Item 3 is a resolution relating to the aid and incentives for municipalities program through the state. It's in our agenda packets. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve this resolution? Thank you, Mr. Fanton.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Root. Any discussion? Just clarification for the viewing audience, or maybe just brief history. The AIM program has been around for a long time, provides unrestricted aid to towns and villages. In the last couple of years, the state's been utilizing a portion of our sales tax to pay for the AIM program. They also, for a couple of years, reduced the AIM amounts to towns and villages. It sounds as though that's been restored and may actually, this resolution is calling for it to be not only paid for by the state, but in the actual dollar amount increased to county, towns, and municipalities, or towns and villages, which we as a county legislature, I believe, are in favor of, because it's very important funding and the towns use it to balance their books and pave the roads and everything else. So that's the gist of this resolution. Any other comments or discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Ms. Caro, County Attorney, has something from Phillips Lytle. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am here today to request a resolution to authorize employment with Phillips Lytle as outside counsel to review tax searches required for enforcement of delinquent taxes for the 2020 and 2021 tax foreclosure proceedings under such terms as the county attorney deems reasonable and in the county's best interest and within the limits set for appropriations by this board. I'm also requesting a resolution authorizing the entering into an agreement with Phillips Lytle to provide legal services for the enforcement of the 2020 and 2021 Article 11 tax enforcement process, and for the chairman of the board to have authorization to sign this agreement. And lastly, I'm also requesting a resolution that the signature of the county treasurer on the 2019 agreement between Allegheny County and Phillips Lytle to review the tax searches required for the enforcement of delinquent taxes and to provide the legal services for the Article 11 proceedings for the 2019 Article 11 tax enforcement process be ratified. I will note that Phillips Lytle has provided these services for the county in the past, and that under County Law Section 501, the county attorney is permitted to employ outside counsel to assist in any civil proceedings or actions.
Thank you for that clarification. Would someone like to make that motion? Thank you, Mr. Demick.
Second, Mr. Fanton.
Thank you, Mr. Fanton. Any questions for the county attorney on this? Madam, this can be done in one vote, all those requests?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Okay, if there's no questions or further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a request from Clerk of the Board, Brenda Rigby-Reilly.
Yes, I'm requesting a resolution to change the date and location of our board meeting, in our second board meeting in July, to Thursday, July 21st, so that we can hold our board meeting at the fair. This will be the 13th year in a row that we have done that, or the 13th time. We actually skipped the one COVID year.
Okay.
Curran moves that.
Motion made by Mr. Havey, seconded by Mr. Curran. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Any old business? New business? Anything for the good of the order? I do have something, and it's just a question of the county treasurer. We had that special Public Works Committee meeting earlier in the day. I guess I'm wondering where, as a legislative body, we are in the approval process for the proposed Friendship Shop capital project.
I think where we are is that Justin mentioned at the special Public Works meeting that there is going to be a review of the plans he's bringing to the next Public Works meeting. At that point in time, the committee and board will review those plans. And if you want to move forward with that construction, then we'll be charged with finding the funding for that construction of that project. It will require bids to go out and then get an estimate idea of what it would cost based on what your review is of the project and what you approve.
Okay, so at this point, for all intent, notwithstanding the fact we all see this as a necessary project, but with that said, we have not approved the construction of a shop in Friendship. Is that correct?
That's correct. You've approved an agreement with Hunt to a certain level. And that's what you made the adjustment for with the budget adjustment to fund that contract that was signed with Hunt for the engineering phases and up through preparing the information for a bid. But you have not authorized that to go through yet for the bidding process.
Okay.
Nor have you approved the actual project.
Okay, so having not been through a big capital project like this with the county before, how actively involved is the legislature in the planning process, in the discussion of what gets built, how big? I'm not talking about picking out curtains or anything, but is this body involved in that process at all?
I'm going to turn that over to the county administrator.
Well, I haven't been around forever, so I haven't seen the construction of every building, but I believe in the past we've had a separate subcommittee that's gone through on not only just the design of the building, but just whether you want a building or not. Certainly we've had the jail, we've had the courthouse addition. Those are the ones I'm familiar with. If you look through the minutes, I think you'll see special subcommittees that handled those things. Even if it was the space and space and needs subcommittee, special committee that was out there.
Is that something you'd recommend for this project?
I think the board's going to have to make a decision on this project. You're going to have to look closely, and I would recommend more than just a single committee meeting to look at the plans.
So how would that happen? It would come through the chair. The chairman would create a subcommittee if he felt the desire to do so.
Yes, only the chairman of the board can make a subcommittee, and he could do that. And maybe you want to look at the plans next month in Public Works and decide as a board where to go from there.
Okay. I don't have to be on this, do I? They're probably made up of members of generally speaking, made up of members of, it would be Public Works Committee, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Also, Mr. Chairman, in addition to forming a, potentially having the chairman of the board forming a subcommittee, whoever's on that subcommittee will also have to be cognizant of all the requirements of the bidding process legally through general municipal law as well. And so, so you will need to work with the county administrator and the county attorney as well to make sure that you're following all those guidelines and understanding what decisions would need to be made while
good.
you're reviewing the plans and making the determination whether or not you want to proceed with the project.
Very good, thank you. Okay, anything else? I'm sorry that we're taking like a 10-minute go to the order here. But
Yeah, I will comment on one other thing too. When the funding is presented and how you may want to fund this project, obviously there's plenty of options on that, so we'll have to discuss those thoroughly. Some take longer. If you intend to, borrow money to pay for that project, then that's going to obviously take longer than just paying for it out of our own coffers, so.
Thank you, Terry. Mr. Healy?
Here.
Our bonding rates are still fairly reasonable right now, currently. If we wanted to start that process now, could we? And then we wouldn't necessarily have to go through with it, or what's the possibilities there?
I would not approach that option until you knew exactly what you were looking for money. And because it is a lengthy process and it is expensive, so we would want to review all our other options before we did that. But the rates are reasonable
Still,
and could be an option.
right, okay.
Yeah, you would have to know the entire project before you go out to the bond market for that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on that? Mr. Demick pointed out to me, we do have a referral from Planning and Economic Development. Do you want Mr. Demick to read it for you? Oh, it was removed. I scared her. Look how scared she was. Okay, so we're good. There's no referrals from committee?
Am I going to hear gotcha?
Gotcha. Early April Fool's trip. Okay, if there's no referrals and there's nothing else for the good of the order, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Havey, seconded by Mr. Demick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.